We as human beings, spiritually, physically, biologically, and mentally, are wired for connection. We need to be loved, to love, and feel belonging for us to absolutely be our best selves. Let's go to the global pandemic. It shook all of our worlds. And of all the effects that it had, one of the greatest effects that it had on me and 314 million other people in the United States alone was it brought up what is called the loneliness epidemic, something that I think more people need to talk about. During COVID, I got pregnant with my first child, and I was living on the complete other side of the world away from my family, which was based in Australia. As you can imagine, this was extremely tough, and it was honestly the most lonely and the most isolated that I have ever felt in my life. And it was extremely hard to go through this process of becoming a mother for the first time in my life without having my own mother by my side. And what really helped me to get through this extremely challenging time was the power of community, was developing a community for myself here in Mexico with other mothers and other people that could understand me. And it was honestly the one thing that got me through one of the toughest times of my entire life. So I want to talk to you about exactly that today, the power of community. And what I'm going to be going into is I'm going to share with you some of the benefits of that having a community brings for us in our life. I'm going to also talk about the science around the power of community, and as well, I would be cheating you all if I didn't also talk about the obstacles that come with having a community. Because whilst a community can be a great thing, there are also some obstacles that we really need to be aware of when we are looking at being a part of one, or if we already are. And finally, I'm going to share with you some key considerations, some really important questions that we all should really ask ourselves when it comes to identifying the types of communities we want to be a part of. And so before we get started, let's actually just define what community is so that we're all talking about the same thing here. Now, a community, really broadly speaking, is basically just a group of people coming together with a shared interest. So, for example, I am a part of my neighborhood community, but the type of community I'm really talking about here today is an enriching one, something deeper, that is a community that empowers you in your life. And for an enriching and empowering community, we need three things. You need to have trust, connection, and deep respect. So in talking about this kind of community, what are some of the benefits that come with that? Number one, sense of belonging and connection. One of my favorite researchers and the top researcher in the field of human immersion and vulnerability, Brené Brown, always shares this quote. We as human beings, spiritually, physically, biologically, and mentally, are wired for connection. We need to be loved, to love, and feel belonging for us to absolutely be our best selves. And so that is really what a community can provide for you. It gives you that sense of belonging and that sense of connection to other people around you. And we know that especially after COVID-19, where there is so much isolation and a feeling of loneliness all across the world, that this is more important than ever. Another key thing when you're a part of a community, especially one that shares your values and you have shared goals in common with that community, you feel like you're a part of something greater. And research shows that when we feel that sense of belonging and when we feel that we are making an impact in the world around us, our well-being is actually way, way, way better and impacted in a positive way for the future. And if there's anything as well about a community, and especially, for example, when you're talking about goals and we're talking about achieving our dreams and achieving our potential in life, just being a part of a community, whether it's online, you're a part of a group, or just a couple of people, already your chances of achieving your goals are 65% higher just by being in a community. Take that up a notch and have an accountability partner or accountability partners, for example, like being a part of a challenge, and your chances of achieving and surpassing your goal increase up to 95%. Those are odds that I like. And if you're anything like me, then I can tell you, like, how many books have you ever started to read, but if you would go to your bookcase right now, you're probably left in just having read a third of the book or even half of the book. How many courses have you joined and only completed maybe half of it or dropped off the whole radar? A community helps you achieve those goals. And the final thing that stems off of that is learning and growth. It is no surprise that when you are a part of a community, it has the ability to challenge you. It has the ability to help you expand. And it is such a major key in enhancing your learning and your growth as a human in every single way. So in saying all of that, I also need to come and talk about the obstacles that come with the community, because whilst it can be a great thing, there are some things that we do need to be aware of that can actually have the opposite effect of the one we're really trying to have by joining a community. So the first thing to consider that can be an obstacle is a community can actually really rob you of your time. It has the capacity to suck away your time and energy. So imagine you have these goals, you have these dreams and desires, but how many times have you really been a part of a community where you've actually just been consuming and not really getting much back? And you're spending time in this place where it's actually sucking away at your life and it's actually not giving you much of a benefit. This is one really big issue that comes with communities. The other thing is a fear of rejection. Now, a lot of people have sometimes this hesitation to join groups or to connect with other people because of this fear, because of this thing like, well, what if I don't fit in with them? What if I'm not good enough? What if I just don't belong? And the funny thing is that, like Brené Brown said, we all want to belong, but we're all thinking that we need to wear these masks and hide who we truly are. So if this resonates with you, this fear of rejection, then what is really deeply hiding behind all of that is often shame. And if it's something that sparks your interest, I highly recommend for you to check out this video that I created all around shame and how to overcome the feelings of shame so that you can experience those benefits of being a part of a community that gets you where you feel fulfilled and you feel like you're actually growing and you're connecting. And the third point and consideration of an obstacle that comes up, it's the lack of diversity. When we have a lack of diversity in a community that we're in, it creates what is called an echo chamber. So how often have you heard this term like-minded? Join this group of like-minded people. Come and experience, an environment of like-minded people. This like-mindedness can actually be an issue, because if you're only a part of a group of people where your ideas are just getting reiterated, you're just getting reflections back from people of like, oh my goodness, yes, totally agree, you're so right, and you're never challenged, what this creates is an echo chamber. A community with diversity is one where there is open dialogue, where your beliefs and your perspectives get challenged, which actually leads to growth. And if you're just getting this cycle back, you're in a space where everybody thinks the same, everybody has the same values and ethics and beliefs, then that's actually not serving you. It sounds like a great thing, but it's actually potentially pulling you in the very opposite direction of the one that you're trying to head into. And so this is something to really look at, like, is the community that I'm in really supporting me in my growth in that way? Because the other thing to consider here is, if you're in a group where people have different values and different beliefs and different perspectives, and they come from different walks of life, you're opening yourself up to exploring so many different things that you may never have had access to. And the key distinction here is, I'm not talking about a space where, for example, you're being subjugated or your freedoms are being, impeded, or you're being restricted in some sort of abusive way, or it's detrimental to your well-being. But we do need to be challenged. We do need to understand kind of the reality of the world. And the reality is that People think differently, people have different beliefs, but we are all deserving of respect. And by being a part of a community with diversity in thought and belief and perspective, you're going to be able to grow so much more than if you weren't in that type of space. So let's come to the key considerations. What are the things that you need to really think about when you're coming into a community or considering about the communities that you're in right now? So number one, what are actually your goals? What are your goals for being in this space? Have you thought about that? Like, why are you there? I can't tell you how many email lists I've signed up to in my lifetime where I was, for example, a part of this group and a part of this network for like 5 years, and I never took any action. And all I was doing was consuming information and it wasn't serving me. So consider, what are your goals? Do you want to join this community because you want to have support? You want to have accountability? You want to learn something new? You want to step outside of your comfort zone? This is a really important question to consider. Why? What do you want to achieve here? Next thing, what are your interests and values? Now, this is a question, aside from talking about community, that we all actually should consider for our overall life. I can't tell you how many people, including myself, never took the time to consider, what do I actually value? What am I interested in terms of what I want to achieve in my life? What type of person do I want to become? What is important to me? When you understand your values and your interests, you're able to make decisions for your life that are actually in alignment with who you are. Otherwise, you're just making decisions frivolously, going with the flow, and when it comes to important life decisions, that's not really a good strategy to have. So what are your interests and values? And are they going to be met in this type of community? And finally, the third point is, what are your expectations? So many spaces, both online and offline, are there and they look really great on the outside, but they actually aren't giving us anything. And it should always be, in my opinion, an energetic exchange. What are your expectations for this group? What are your expectations for joining this community? What do you want to get out of it? We're not here to just consume. If you want to be part of just a space of talking about things and looking at information and, wasting your time and energy, a lot of community spaces do unfortunately do that. So think about this first. What do you expect to get out of this? And then that's going to help you to look at any space that you enter. Are these really my people? Is this going to help me evolve into the human being that I want to be? So all in all, a community can be a fabulous thing. I talked to you about the deep sense of belonging and the connection that we all as human beings biologically desire to have, which a community can help provide to us. It gives us the benefit of having these shared values and this feeling of belonging and this feeling of contributing to something greater than ourselves in life. Communities help us learn, they help us grow. I also talked about some of the obstacles that we can come into when it comes to a community that we should really be aware of. They can often suck our time and energy and take us away from the goals we're trying to, accomplish in our life. We can come to this space of fearing the actual community connection because we fear rejection, and we might end up in a space that isn't serving us because it's an echo chamber. So all in all, as well, consider the 3 things I talked about. What are your goals for being in this community? What are your interests and your values? And what are your expectations in coming into that space? What do you want to get out of it? So I hope that in taking all of this into consideration, you feel empowered, you have the tools to know exactly who you are, who you want to connect with, and why. And remember, always, be kind, be you, be blessed. Hey, I want to talk to you real quick about my own community that I would love to invite you to, the Wellbeing and Business Collective. Now, community is not just about socializing. You've seen me here on YouTube, and maybe you're even following me on my other social media like Instagram. And that's a beautiful place, and I love you so much for supporting me on there. But the connection that you and I can build is quite surface level. In the Wellbeing and Business Collective, everything that you see here in my videos gets taken 10 times deeper. It's a space where you can feel seen, heard, supported, held accountable for, you can just achieve so much more transformation. Because in the collective, I deliver so many different things. We have, for example, our various circles. We have a holistic habits circle. You get worksheets, you get live meetups, you get trainings, and so much extra material, and a lot more of me personally as well, and the things that I share in there. The big thing about community is as well that it's supposed to support your growth. And when you consume information, be it on YouTube or anywhere else, it gives you a really short-lived kick of motivation. You know, you feel so inspired and ready to take action, but how often do you actually see through on that action? The difference with this community is it's a space of doing. It's about acting, and it's about seeing results and seeing transformation in your life every single day, because you're gonna get held accountable and you're gonna be able to experience that transformation by being held in a supportive community. That's really the biggest difference between being here on social media or on YouTube with me and being part of the community. And also, not to mention, it's free. So if you have been feeling stuck or you feel like you're ready for that next level of growth in your life, then what are you waiting for? Go and click the link below, fill out super simple details, and you'll be right in the community immediately. So I will see you there.